Good afternoon, beautiful people here in the Feel to Heal Emotional Revolution. How are you on day one? There's been some extraordinary feedback coming through already, which has just been so fantastic. I've had a few messages come through and a few emails and even some chats in the group actually. About the incredible Rachel Pope and our it was such an expansive conversation that we had at 11:30 today. Now, if you haven't seen that, I have pinned it in the announcements of the group, or you can just scroll up and down in the group and you will find it, but it is pinned at the very top. So if you haven't yet had a chance to see it, please do take a few minutes. If you haven't also had a chance to look at the journal prompt, that is also there in the feed today. And if you haven't had if you're having trouble navigating the group, that's okay too. It's a lot, and we don't want to overwhelm you. The purpose of the whole 5 days is to not overwhelm you, but in fact underwhelm you in a sense, help take some of the overwhelm away. So don't panic too much about it. Hello, beautiful Sue. Don't panic too much. If you have registered, you will receive an email before the end of today, Australia time, that is, with the replay of this and the replay of Rachel's conversation. So beautiful to have you here with me, Sue. Oh, so good. So what I'm going to be doing over the next 5 days is I'm going to be sharing some emotional awareness tools, and these are tools to help us, of course, raise our emotional awareness, but also to help us hone our relationship with our emotions. Now, these are practical resources. They're just practical tools that will help you to start to understand your emotions, start to cultivate a relationship, or at least have them sort of brought out from the back, as I said on the chat today with Rachel, and in front, where you can start to just have a look at them. Now, I also want to on every live that we do and every group chat that we do, I just want to also preface that this 5-day emotional revolution is about education and conversation and validation. It's not counseling, and it's not coaching, and it's not psychological anything. If you do need to reach out and get some support in that area, either reach out to somebody in your local community, or if you don't know where to begin, please send me an email and I will find a way to direct you to the right place. So these tools are just to give you a starting point to start to develop some insight into your emotions. So today's tool is a tool that I use mostly to help me have a look at what needs are not being met. Because here's the thing about our emotions. They're actually a really valuable source of information, and it's where we store a lot of information that our body is trying to communicate to us. But unfortunately, because of social media and conditioning and just different experiences that we've been cultivated, that we've been cultivated by, we've lost the ability to be attuned to listening to our body. And the first indicator for us that there is some information that's trying to be transmitted to us often comes through in the form of an emotion. So today's tool is a really simple way of having a look at, okay, what is it that my emotions are trying to communicate to me? So rather than have the emotion come up and go, oh, this feels really yucky, I'm just going to deflect, distract, deny, I'm just going to ignore it. This is an invitation, if it feels okay for you to do so, is to start to have a little look and see what might the emotion be communicating to you. So for the purpose of this exercise, I am going to move our emotions into perceived positive experiences and perceived negative experiences. Now today on the call with Rachel, I was suggesting and saying that we need to start to be able to not be so binary, but that's what it is to be human, and categorize everything into good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no, positive, negative. But just for the purpose of this exercise and to help us to begin to tap in to the information that's sitting inside of our emotions, we're going to break it down into perceived positive experiences and perceived negative experiences. So the first thing we want to do, we'll start with a perceived positive experience. So what is happening is when there is a perceived positive experience, what your body is communicating to you is you've had some kind of need has been satisfied. So for example, if you've had a perceived positive experience and it was something that had you feel really included, the perceived need, sorry, not the perceived need, but the need that was satisfied is quite possibly inclusion. Okay, so I have this need for inclusion, and I've had a happy experience where I've had this emotion, this sense of being, being included. So that deep need, which is inside of me, has been communicated to me. Now, that's a pretty simple way of looking at it. But where this becomes so powerful is when we look at it from a negative experience. This is where we can really begin to hone in on what it is that we need. What is this need that feels lacking, that has been triggered and presented as an emotion? So I'm going to give you an example. So we're going to now look at a perceived negative experience. So let's say, for example, that you were a bunch of your really close friends got together and they set up a dinner party and you didn't get an invitation. Now, we've maybe all had that happen to us at some point. I know it's happened to me. And the emotion or the perceived negative experience that you may have come up for you is this sense of exclusion, right? This feeling of being left out. Now, how do we start to dig into that and find a way, find out how we can see what is the need that emotion, what is the need inside of us that emotion is trying to communicate to us to have a look at? So the emotion that came up was a sense of being excluded, okay? So what is the opposite of being excluded? Because that's the need that is trying to be transmitted to us via the emotion. So the need that's not being satisfied, the opposite of exclusion might be connection. I've been excluded. The opposite of that could be connection. So that is the need that isn't being satisfied, that this emotion has kicked up and is trying to communicate to you. So when we know that, here's what we get to do. Here's how this becomes really, really powerful. Because at the moment, the emotions come up, you feel excluded, and where we want to go with that generally is to project everything outside of us. It's because of this person, they don't like me. It's because, I don't, I'm not liked. I'm not cool enough, or I'm not something enough, right? That's where we generally go. We look outside of ourselves for the reason for the exclusion, okay? But if we use this tool as a means to source information that is trying to be communicated to us via our emotions. This is where we get to become really powerful. We get to make an empowered and informed observation, self-observation. So if the sense or the emotion or the feeling was exclusion, and the need that is not being satisfied is connection, how can you find a way to create some inner connection with yourself? Because that is what your body is trying to communicate to you. There's a need deep down for some connection, and it was triggered by being excluded from the dinner party invite. Now, rather than go straight to, I'm not cool enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not loved enough, I'm not liked enough, and putting that outside of ourselves, come back and go, okay, what is the need that this emotion is telling me is not being satisfied? It's a need that I have, and it's somehow not being satisfied. And it's been triggered by this external situation. And again, we come back to, well, perhaps it's connection. And then the final step in this little process of using our emotions as a form of identifying information, deep internal information that our body is trying to give to us, we can then be powerful in going, okay, my body's communicating to me that I have a need for connection. How can I take responsibility and create some connection for myself? Does that make sense, guys? Does that, let me know if that does make sense for you, or if you have any questions around it. I've had a lot of my clients use this tool so successfully, and they've had a lot of real aha moments where, with a little bit of journaling, when you can look at the emotion, look at the need that's not being satisfied, it'll be the opposite of the emotion that's been triggered, and it will be whatever the word is for you, right? So for some people, a sense of exclusion, the direct opposite might be missing out, but for someone else it might be, connection or connectedness. So go with what, thanks. So go with what comes up for you. Spend some time just going inward. So much of what our emotions are currently really misinterpreted, which is why we have this autopilot, deflection, distraction, and denial for feeling anything that's a bit prickly. And because we're humans, we will automatically, rather than go within, we will go to the external stimulus that triggered the emotion and try and find fault and blame and reasons and meanings. Now, humans are meaning-making machines, so anything that when we look at the external stimulus, what I make it mean, and what perhaps Sue, you make it mean, or Hannah, what you make it mean, it'll be a different thing. So how can we truly gather any kind of wisdom or growth by looking at the external stimulus? If we start to treat our emotions as a form of information being directed to us from within, and start to go, okay, I have an emotion here that has triggered something. What is it that is not being satisfied from that emotion? What is the opposite? And where can I give that to myself? Where can I start to, make some little inroads into figuring out how can I give that need to myself, rather than rely or aim or lay fault with the external stimulus that triggered it in the first place. It's a really empowering way to really take back our power with our emotions. So that's it for today, beautiful humans. I hope that's helped. I have a lot of this I began doing, a long time ago, and it's been a long, maybe decade to 15 years of really doing this deep inner work. But one of the things that I've really discovered is it's not about doing more, it's not about adding more, it's really about starting to unbecome and unravel everything that we're not, that the world has told us we're supposed to be. And for me, it's the of internal inquiry, internal questioning, going within, and the deeper within I go, the more for me I'm able to bring forward. So I hope that has come through okay. I can see there's a little bit of glitching going on, so I apologise for that if it's freezing up a little bit. But if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. And I look forward to bring forward our conversation on anxiety with the amazing Mel Cameron. So very, very Mel has a personal story with anxiety going back to when she was a small child. So it'll be a really empowering conversation. Tomorrow I'm going to jump on another emotional awareness tool with you. So I really look forward to that. Okay, I am going to see you in the group. Have a lovely evening. And if you have any questions, pop them in the comments or send me an email directly.